Hi, my name is Nishu Sharma. Me, along with my other teammates, have created an app called Spendthrift, and today I'm going to explain what was my part, what was my contribution for making that app. So let me open the Android Studio. I mainly worked on the database. This is the DB adapter file which I created. So let's walk through the code. So this DB adapter file, it basically helps in creating the tables. As my friend Chaitanya has already shown the screencast of the app. So let's again go to the app and open it. So this is the basic interface of our Spendthrift app. The Spendthrift app is very helpful as it helps in adding all the transactions, tracking the transactions category wise. We'll be supporting different categories like entertainment, education, travel, food, other expenses, etc. And also we can create or track goals. We can create the goal and we can create the upper limit for a particular category. For example, a user, if he wants to spend only 1,000 rupees in the next 10 days, he can do so with our app. So this app basically has two tables which I used. I created two tables named transactions and goals. The transaction tables, it keeps track of all the transactions which are happening of all the categories. It stores the transaction ID, the category, the amount which was spent, and the date on which the transaction happened. Similarly, the goals table helps in keeping and storing all the goals. It stores the deadline, the goal, that is the total amount which is the upper limit, the amount spent which is the total amount which is spent till now, and of course it will contain the category too. And so let's see the working of it in detail. The onCreate method is used to create tables. The tables are created if they do not exist. I've added this constraint here. If the table doesn't exist, then we create the table, otherwise we use the previously created table. So while creating the transaction table, I have made the transaction ID as the primary key and I've auto incremented it. The category as text, the amount is real, and the date is real too. Come to the goals table. The goals table contains the category as the primary key, which means what? Which means that for one particular category, we'll be having only one goal running at a particular time, which means we cannot create multiple goals for one category. After the deadline for one category expires, we can create another goal, but we cannot create two goals for one category simultaneously. We'll see this in detail. Now this is the onUpgrade method. When the database is upgraded from an older version to a newer version, I drop the tables, drop table if exists, the transaction table and the goals table as well. So let's come to the add transaction method. The add transaction method helps in adding the transaction. It increments the transaction count and it adds to the database the transaction count, the transaction ID, the category, the amount and the date. Let's see how this works. When we go here and click on add transactions, we come up with this screen where we have to select a category. Let's say we spent on food 600 rupees. When we click on the save button, this displays a toast which says transaction added. It means the transaction is added in the transaction database. Let's go to display transactions then, which gets it seems to be somewhere here. Let's search for it. Get all transactions. Here it is. Yeah, so the get all transaction methods helps in getting all the transaction and displaying on the screen here. Here we can see all the recent transactions which are done. So this get all transactions returns an array list which contains all the transactions. So here we see this query which says select star from transactions. We are selecting all the columns from the transactions table and we are displaying the transactions. So this all code handles the displaying or the adding of the strings into this array list, which we'll be accessing in main navbar activity, which is here. In the main navbar activity, in the onResume method, we see that this method will be called, and when this method is called, we display all the transactions in the order in which they have occurred, which is here, and then also we can add the other transactions as well. So let's resume to our DB adapter again. So this was the work for the transactions table which I did. Let's jump to create goal. So this screen basically helps us in creating goal for one category. Let's create the goal for food as 1800, and let's say the deadline is next month 24th. When we click the submit button, it says the goal is added. Now when we try to track the goals, we have to go back and track the goal as food, and when we click on go, it says that 31 days are left. The goal is 1800, the amount spent is 600, and the balance which is left is 1200. So let's go and understand the working of this. So in the add goal method, we see that we are converting, or we are adding the deadline in milliseconds. Why am I doing this? Why didn't I store the date? This is because I need to, when I was subtracting dates, I was facing a lot of problems, so I decided to store the deadline in terms of milliseconds so that it will be easier to display the number of days which are left here. So while adding goal, I add the deadline, the category, the amount spent, and the goals. And with this statement db.insert goals, null, values, the values are inserted into the database. Now this get amount spent is a very important method which I created. So this method says that we have to select amount from transactions where category is this. Suppose we have multiple transactions for food. Let's go and create another transaction for food. Suppose food 200 rupees. Save. The transaction is added. Now we have spent a total of 600 plus 200, that is 800 rupees on food on 24th of May. So what this does is, for a particular goal or for a particular category, it tracks all the transactions and it adds it here, so that the total amount spent would be 600 plus 200. So the next time we are getting a goal, we make sure that the total amount spent which we get is here. We get the amount spent by one category. So, and as soon as we get the amount, we update the goals table as well, and we display the time left in days by dividing them with 1000, 60, 60 and 24. So by this we convert milliseconds into days, and we then return the goal. Now when we see track goals, food, go, we say 31 days left, the total goal is 1800, the amount which is spent is 800, and we can spend 1000 rupees more, and the deadline is 31 days. So this was the work for database which I did. Also some small details or nuances which I added was, suppose we track goals and there is no goal for travel, what should happen? It handles the exception very well. When we click the go button, it says no goal is created for this category, so we can go and create the goal for the category. Another example is, suppose I go to create goal and try to create another goal for food. After knowing that there is already a goal which is running for food right now, so it says that goal for this category is already created. goal for this category already exists, which means that at one particular time we can have only one goal. So this was the work which I did, and I hope that everybody likes this project, and we all, I along with all my team members, we promise that we'll be creating great apps such as this, and we'll be improvising the functionality of this app. And thank you.